The rust-colored dust of Kepler 247d swirled around Kai Patel's boots as she carefully made her way down the ancient stone steps. Her helmet's filters worked overtime to keep the fine particles from clogging the system, but they couldn't quite mask the planet's distinct metallic smell. The young xenoarchaeologist's hand brushed against weathered glyphs carved into the walls, her augmented reality display automatically scanning and attempting to decode the symbols. "Command, I'm proceeding to sublevel 3, she reported, her voice steady despite the growing excitement. "Structure appears to be at least 50,000 years old, definitely pre-collapse architecture." Static crackled through her comm before Professor Rivera's voice came through. "Copy that, Kai. Remember, we're on a tight schedule. Corporate survey team is due here in 48 hours. Kai suppressed a sigh. The Stellar Archaeological Society had barely managed to secure this narrow window for preliminary research before Genesis Corporation's mining operation would begin. 2 days to explore what could be the most significant xenoarchaeological find of the century. The stairway opened into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness above. Kai's lights revealed row after row of circular platforms, each surrounded by what appeared to be energy containment systems. Though inactive for millennia, their design was unmistakable. "Professor, this was a prison," Kai breathed, her heart racing. "But not like anything we've seen before. The technology here is far more advanced than other pre-collapse sites." She approached one of the platforms, her scanner whirring as it analyzed the strange crystalline structures embedded in the floor. The readings made no sense, energy signatures that shouldn't be possible from dormant technology. A warning flash from her wrist computer caught her attention. "Professor? I'm picking up some unusual readings from the local survey satellite. Multiple ships entering orbit." "That's impossible," Rivera's voice crackled. "Genesis isn't due for another 2 days." The ground trembled slightly, and Kai's stomach dropped. Those weren't corporate survey ships, they were too early, too numerous. "Professor, I think we have mercenaries incoming. Genesis must have found out about." The transmission cut off in a burst of static. Kai cursed under her breath, checking her equipment. Local communications were being jammed. She had to get back to the surface, but something about those energy readings nagged at her. The crystalline structures were resonating, responding to something. A low hum filled the chamber, rising in pitch until Kai's teeth ached. The central platform's crystals began to glow with an inner light, pulsing like a heartbeat. Kai backed away, but her scientific curiosity warred with her survival instinct. This was supposed to be dead technology, dormant for millennia. The chamber's ancient lighting systems suddenly flared to life, revealing the true scale of the prison. Hundreds of platforms stretched into the distance, but only one was active, the one directly in front of her. The air above it shimmered, taking on a solid form. Kai watched in fascination and horror as a creature materialized. It was massive, easily 3 meters tall, with a body that seemed to shift between solid matter and living energy. Its form was vaguely humanoid but covered in what appeared to be crystalline growths that pulsed with the same light as the platform. The creature's eyes opened, swirling pools of violet energy that fixed immediately on Kai. It made no aggressive move, but she could feel the weight of an ancient intelligence in its gaze. Distant explosions rocked the chamber. The mercenaries were getting closer. Kai had seconds to make a decision: run, or try to communicate with this being that her presence had somehow awakened. The creature tilted its head, studying her with those impossible eyes. Then, to Kai's astonishment, it raised a crystalline hand and traced glyphs in the air, the same ones she'd been studying on the walls. Her AR display began translating: "Danger comes. Choice is yours." Another explosion, closer this time. Kai could hear the sound of plasma weapons. The mercenaries weren't here for research, they were here to clean up witnesses and secure whatever they detected in this chamber. Kai took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I don't know if you can understand me," she said, "but I think we both need to get out of here." I'm Kai. And I choose to trust you. The creature's crystalline features shifted in what might have been a smile. It extended its hand again, this time in a gesture that needed no translation. Heavy boots echoed on the stone steps behind them. Kai grabbed the creature's hand, its touch sending tingles of energy through her suit. As the first mercenaries burst into the chamber, the creature pulled her close, its crystalline body beginning to glow with intense light. The last thing Kai saw before the world dissolved into brilliant energy was the look of shock on the mercenaries' faces. Whatever this being was, whatever history had led to its imprisonment, she had just thrown her lot in with it. And somehow, she knew this was only the beginning of a much larger story. As the energy field enveloped them both, Kai caught fragments of thought, not words exactly, but impressions. The creature was communicating directly with her mind, sharing urgent fragments of information. A war fought eons ago. A species imprisoned not for their crimes, but for their power. And a terrible truth about the nature of consciousness itself that the corporate powers would kill to possess. The chamber vanished in a flash of light, and Kai's adventure truly began. The abandoned mining outpost on Kepler 247D's smaller moon wasn't much, but it offered temporary sanctuary. Kai sat cross-legged on a dusty cargo container, watching as her alien companion examined the facility's ancient equipment with graceful, methodical movements. The crystalline being, whom she had started calling Nova due to its luminescent nature, seemed to absorb information simply by touching technology. So, Kai said, breaking the silence, you can understand me now. She gestured to the makeshift translator they'd assembled from her damaged AR display and components Nova had somehow modified with its energy manipulation abilities. Nova turned, its violet eyes pulsing gently. The translator crackled to life, converting its crystalline resonances into rough speech. Understanding grows. Your language, fascinating. Simple yet complex. Kai leaned forward, unable to contain her curiosity. What exactly are you? The prison facility's records were fragmentary, but they suggested your species was called the Luminarii. The crystalline being's form rippled, colors shifting through its transparent body like aurora borealis. We are, energy shepherds. Guardians of consciousness itself. Nova's translated voice carried a weight of sadness. The ones you call the precursors feared our ability to bridge the gap between energy and matter, between thought and reality. A distant rumble interrupted their conversation. Through the outpost's grimy viewport, Kai could see Genesis Corporation ships conducting a systematic search pattern across the moon's surface. They had escaped the initial confrontation, but their pursuers were persistent. They're looking for both of us now, Kai said grimly. Whatever Genesis found in those ruins, they're willing to kill to keep it quiet. She pulled up the data she'd managed to download before everything went chaos. These energy signatures, they're similar to your natural frequency, aren't they? Nova moved closer, its crystalline form casting prismatic patterns across the metal walls. The prison was not built to contain criminals, it confirmed. It was built to harvest our essence. To study the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. The implications hit Kai like a physical blow. The corporations, they found traces of this research in the ruins. That's why they're so desperate to secure the site. She looked up at Nova with growing horror. They want to weaponize consciousness. A series of sharp beeps from her salvaged equipment cut through the tension. Multiple ships entering low orbit, Kai reported, fingers flying across the display. They're deploying ground teams. We've got maybe 20 minutes before. Nova's form suddenly flared bright, its crystals resonating with alarm. More than ships, it projected urgently. They brought one of us. The outpost's walls groaned as if under immense pressure. Through the viewport, Kai saw another crystalline being approaching, but unlike Nova's elegant, almost organic form, this one was jagged, its light a harsh red rather than violet. Its movements were jerky, unnatural. They tried to replicate our power, Nova explained, its translator struggling to convey the complex emotions. Created abominations, partial successes. Slaves to their will. Kai's mind raced. They were trapped on the moon, outgunned and outnumbered, facing both human mercenaries and what appeared to be a weaponized version of Nova species. Yet something about the situation nagged at her researcher's instincts. The original prison, she said slowly, it wasn't just containing you, was it? It was studying the fundamental properties of your species. The energy transfer, the consciousness manipulation. She turned to Nova excitedly. Could we use that same technology to free their creation? To undo whatever they did to it? Nova's crystalline form pulsed with interest. Possible. Dangerous. Would require direct connection to its consciousness matrix. But. It paused, lights shifting thoughtfully. Your human mind. Unexpected variable. Might provide shield they cannot predict. The outpost's external sensors blared warnings. The corrupted luminarii was getting closer, its harsh red light painting the lunar surface in blood tones. Behind it, Genesis dropships were descending, carrying teams of heavily armed mercenaries. Kai stood, squaring her shoulders. Well, partner, looks like we've got two choices. Run and hide, maybe buy ourselves a few more hours. Or. She grinned, the same reckless curiosity that had driven her to trust Nova in the first place surging through her. We try something incredibly stupid and potentially revolutionary. Nova's crystalline form brightened, and through their growing mental connection, Kai sensed something like amusement. Your species, it projected, fascinating capacity for both wisdom and recklessness. I'll take that as a vote for option 2, Kai said, already pulling up the prison facility's schematics she'd downloaded. We'll need to modify these containment protocols, create a feedback loop that can. She stopped as Nova placed a crystalline hand on her shoulder. The touch sent tingles of energy through her suit, but there was something else, a sense of trust, of partnership, that transcended their biological differences. Together, Nova projected simply. Kai nodded, her fear replaced by determination. Together, she agreed. Now, let's go free your cousin and give Genesis Corporation the worst headache they've ever had. As they prepared for their desperate gambit, Kai couldn't help but smile. She'd joined the Stellar Archaeological Society hoping to uncover the secrets of the past. Instead, she was helping write a new chapter in the relationship between humans and the universe's elder species. And if they survived the next few hours, she had a feeling the story was just beginning. The abandoned space station hung in the shadow of Kepler 247D's rings, its skeletal frame a dark silhouette against the planet's ethereal glow. Inside its cavernous data center, Kai worked feverishly at a jury-rigged console while Nova interfaced directly with the station's ancient memory cores. Their recent escape from the moon had been narrow, too narrow, but it had worked. The corrupted luminarii was with them now, its harsh red glow softened to a gentle amber as it recovered in a makeshift containment field. Look at this, Kai said, projecting a holographic display into the center of the room. These station logs go back almost 1,000 years. The precursors weren't just studying your people, they were afraid of you. Nova's crystalline form shifted, casting prismatic patterns across the darkened room. Fear. Yes. The root of much suffering. Its translator had improved, allowing for more nuanced communication. They discovered something they could not control. The freed luminarii, who had chosen the name Echo, stirred in its containment field. Its thoughts, though still fragmented, projected clearly enough, they feared what we could become. What we could help others become. Kai pulled up another file, this one showing complex energy patterns that matched Nova's natural resonance. The precursors found out that your species could do more than just manipulate energy and matter. You could evolve consciousness itself. We are catalysts, Nova explained, its violet eyes pulsing gently. In presence of willing minds, we facilitate growth. Understanding. Transformation. It paused, lights shifting thoughtfully. Your quick trust in me, your adaptation to our communication, not coincidence. A chill ran down Kai's spine as the implications sank in. That's why Genesis is so desperate to capture you. It's not just about weapons or energy manipulation. They want to control human evolution itself. Echo's amber light flared with alarm. Others coming. Many ships. Its recently freed consciousness was still adjusting, but its ability to sense energy signatures remained acute. Kai rushed to the station's sensor controls. Multiple Genesis warships just dropped out of FTL, she confirmed grimly. Including, oh, that's not good. The largest signature belonged to the Genesis Corporation's flagship, the Prometheus. They sent their leader, Echo projected, its light dimming with dread. The one who broke me. Nova moved to the viewport, its crystalline form reflecting the starlight. Director Richardson, it stated, the name carrying weight even through the translator. She seeks power beyond human understanding. Then let's make sure she doesn't get it, Kai said, her fingers flying across the console. These station archives don't just contain historical data, they have the original research on Luminarii consciousness. If we can transmit this across the emergency channels, expose what Genesis is really doing. A violent shudder ran through the station. The Genesis ships had opened fire, not with weapons designed to destroy, but to disable and capture. Time grows short, Nova projected urgently. But there is another way. It turned to Kai, its violet eyes intense. You asked how we help consciousness evolve. I can show you. But choice must be yours. Kai met Nova's gaze, understanding dawning. You're talking about changing me. Taking whatever's been happening to my mind since we met and, accelerating it. Dangerous, Echo warned, its amber light pulsing with concern. But powerful. What they did to me, twisted version of true potential. Another impact rocked the station. Warning lights flashed as the Genesis ships began docking procedures. They had minutes at most. Kai looked at her alien companions, one ancient and wise, the other broken but healing, and made her decision. Do it, she said firmly. Show me what humanity can become. Nova's crystalline form brightened, reaching out with both hands. Remember, it projected softly. Evolution is not about power. It is about understanding. As their fingers touched, Kai's world exploded into light and sensation. Her consciousness expanded, connecting with the station's systems, with Nova's ancient wisdom, with Echo's fractured memories. She saw the truth of the Precursor's fear, the depth of Genesis Corporation's ambitions, and the incredible potential that lay dormant in human consciousness. But more importantly, she understood what had to be done. Through their linked minds, Nova sensed her plan. Dangerous, it cautioned, even as pride colored its thoughts. What you propose is exactly what they won't expect, Kai finished, her expanded consciousness already reaching out to the station's systems. They want to control evolution. Let's show them what real transformation looks like. As Genesis forces breached the station's airlocks, Kai Patel, no longer entirely human but not quite Luminarii, prepared to teach humanity's would-be masters a lesson about the true nature of power. The station's lights flickered, and in the darkness, three beings of energy and consciousness made their stand against those who would chain the future itself. The true war for humanity's evolution was about to begin. The Crimson Nebula lived up to its name, vast clouds of ionized gas casting everything in bloody hues. The stolen Genesis shuttle weaved through the cosmic maze, its hull groaning under the strain. At its controls, Kai's consciousness flowed through the ship's systems like water, her partially transformed body glowing with a soft blue-violet light. 3 more pursuit craft entering scanning range, she announced, her voice carrying an ethereal resonance. They're trying to herd us toward the gravity well of that protostar. Nova, its crystalline form anchored to the shuttle's power core, pulsed with concern. Director Richardson pursues with singular purpose. She has learned from Echo's escape. In the shuttle's makeshift medical bay, Echo's amber light flickered weakly. The freed luminarii had spent too much energy helping them escape the station, and the nebula's intense radiation was affecting its still healing consciousness. Status report, came Richardson's cold voice over all frequencies, impossible to block. Your stolen shuttle is losing power. That nebula is tearing it apart. Surrender now, and I'll ensure your transformation process is, relatively painless. Kai's newly enhanced senses detected the lie instantly. Through her connection with Nova, she had seen Richardson's true plans, not just for her, but for all of humanity. The Genesis director didn't want to elevate consciousness, she wanted to weaponize it, to create an army of controlled evolved humans loyal only to her. The shuttle won't survive another 10 minutes in these conditions, Kai projected to her companions. But I think I know why Richardson is so intent on driving us toward that protostar. Nova's lights shifted in understanding. The radiation signature. It matches the frequency used in the prison's containment systems. Exactly. Kai's transformed consciousness reached deeper into the shuttle's systems, pushing them to their limit. She thinks she can recreate the original imprisonment technology using the protostar's natural energy field. Echo stirred, projecting fragments of memory. Like my cage. But bigger. Strong enough to hold all of us. Another blast from their pursuers rocked the shuttle. Warning lights flashed across every console as critical systems began to fail. But Kai smiled, her ethereal glow brightening. Richardson forgot something important, she said, both aloud and through their shared mental link. She studied the luminarii as prisoners. She never saw what they could do when they worked together willingly. Nova moved closer, its crystalline form resonating with Kai's energy signature. What you suggest, has never been attempted. Merging consciousness between species. We're already halfway there, Kai pointed out, gesturing to her transformed state. And we don't have time to find another way. Echo's amber light pulsed stronger, the freed luminarii gathering its remaining strength. I will help. Memory of cage, useful now. Understanding of limits. The pursuing ships fired again, their weapons carefully calibrated to disable rather than destroy. The shuttle's shields finally failed, and alerts screamed as the nebula's radioactive gases began to seep through the hull. Kai took a deep breath, her partially crystalline form shimmering with determination. Ready? Nova's violet energy field expanded, merging with her own. Together. Together, Echo confirmed, its amber light joining the fusion. Their combined consciousness exploded outward, far beyond the shuttle's failing hull. They touched the nebula itself, sensing its currents and eddies, feeling the raw power of its atomic dance. And there, hidden in the swirling crimson clouds, they found what they needed, a natural phenomenon that the Genesis scientists had overlooked in their arrogant certainty. Director Richardson, Kai broadcast, her voice now a harmony of human and luminarii resonance. You wanted to see evolution in action? Watch carefully. She released the shuttle's controls. Around them, the nebula's gases began to move in impossible ways, swirling into complex patterns that defied natural law. The pursuing ship sensors went haywire as energy levels spiked beyond their capacity to measure. What are you doing? Richardson's voice held fear for the first time. Stop this immediately. You can't stop evolution, Kai replied, as three consciousness merged fully into one. You can only choose to embrace it. The nebula lit up like a newborn sun, and in its light, something new was born, something that was neither human nor luminarii, but a bridge between all forms of consciousness. The genesis of a true transformation. And in that brilliant moment, Director Richardson finally understood her mistake. She had sought to control evolution, to shape it to her will. But true evolution, like the being now emerging from the heart of the nebula, could never be contained. The real question was, what would humanity become when they learned the truth? The Genesis Corporation's command carrier Prometheus hung in space like a wounded leviathan, its systems overloaded by waves of consciousness-altering energy. On its bridge, Director Richardson watched in horror as her carefully constructed plans crumbled before something she had never anticipated: true evolution. The being that had once been Chi, Nova, and Echo floated before the ship's main viewport, a magnificent fusion of crystalline energy in transformed human consciousness. Its form shifted between states, sometimes appearing human, sometimes luminarii, sometimes something entirely new. "Your ships are disabled," the being projected, its thoughts reaching every mind on the Prometheus. "Your weapons are useless against what we have become. But we're not here to destroy you, Director. We're here to show you what you failed to understand." Richardson's fingers tightened on her command chair. "And what is that, creature? That evolution cannot be controlled. It can only be embraced." The being's form rippled with colors that human eyes had never seen. "Let us show you the truth that the precursors feared, the truth you sought to weaponize." Before Richardson could respond, the being released a pulse of energy that spread through the ship like a wave of light. But instead of the forced transformation the director had planned for humanity, this was an offering, a gift of understanding. Every mind on the Prometheus experienced a moment of profound connection. They saw the history of the luminarii, not as threats to be contained, but as guides who had waited eons for other species to be ready for true partnership. They felt the deeper reality that lay beneath physical existence, the interconnected web of consciousness that bound all living things. "Impossible," Richardson whispered, but her voice lacked conviction. The truth she experienced had shattered her worldview, showing her the fundamental flaw in her desire to control evolution itself. The being that had once been three separate entities moved closer to the viewport. The prison facility wasn't just for containment, it explained, its voice carrying echoes of Chi's human compassion, Nova's ancient wisdom, and Echo's hard-won understanding. It was a cocoon, waiting for the right moment, the right combination of minds to demonstrate what conscious evolution truly means. Through the ship's systems, through the transformed energy field that surrounded them, through the very fabric of spacetime itself, the truth spread. Across human colonies and outposts, people began to awaken to new possibilities. Not forced evolution or controlled transformation, but the potential for willing partnership with the universe itself. The being turned its attention to the Genesis soldiers and scientists, many of whom were still reeling from their glimpse of greater reality. "You have a choice now. The same choice Chi made in those ruins, the same choice Echo made when we helped free it from your control. You can cling to the old ways of domination and control. Or," it continued, its form shifting to something more distinctly human-like, carrying echoes of Chi's original form, "you can help us build bridges between species, between states of consciousness, between what is and what could be." Richardson stood slowly, her face wet with tears she hadn't realized she was shedding. "And if we refuse? If we choose to fight this evolution?" The being's response carried no threat, only a profound sadness. "Then you will remain as you are, while the rest of humanity steps forward into a larger universe. The choice must always be free." In the silence that followed, something remarkable happened. One by one, the Genesis crews made their choice. Not through force or coercion, but through understanding. They had seen a glimpse of what consciousness could become, and they chose to embrace it. The being that had once been Chi, Nova, and Echo began to separate, revealing that their fusion had not erased their individual selves, but enhanced them. Chi's form now shimmered with crystalline energy, while Nova and Echo had gained new understanding of human perspective. The precursors feared this moment, Nova projected. The moment when humanity would be ready to join us as partners in evolution. They tried to prevent it, Echo added, its amber light now strong and steady. As Genesis tried to control it. But true evolution, Chi finished, her transformed voice carrying across space itself, can only come through choice, through understanding, through the willing partnership of all conscious beings. As the truth spread across human space, as the ancient prison facilities were transformed into centers of learning and growth, as humanity began its willing journey toward a new state of existence, Kai looked out at the star-filled void with new eyes. They had broken the chains, not just of physical imprisonment, but of limited consciousness itself. The real story was just beginning. In the Crimson Nebula, the protostar that Genesis had hoped to use as a weapon pulsed with new energy, a beacon calling to all species ready to take their next step in conscious evolution. And around it, human and Luminariae worked together, not as master and slave, not as controller and controlled, but as partners in the greatest journey any species could undertake. The journey of becoming more than they were, together.